I think the overwhelming biggest question surrounding the Falcons' week 1 performance is Kirk Cousins healthy, or is Zach Robinson the worst play caller we've ever seen? Because one of the two has to be true based on what we've seen. And I know it's only 1 week, and I know I'm just saying that out of jest, but seriously, is Kirk Cousins healthy? That's what we need to know. Raheem Morris took the podium on Monday, said that Kirk Cousins is healthy. It had nothing to do with the play calling. Here's the thing, though. I just don't believe it. Like, I do not believe that Kirk Cousins is anywhere close to 100%. I definitely think that game plan was made around Kirk Cousins and his inability to move and knowing that it's going to be tough against this Steelers defense and maybe just trying to get Kirk Cousins out of there alive in one piece, given the limitations against TJ Watt and that Steelers defensive front. I just don't believe you can look at that game, watch that game, and I've seen the highlights over and over again and everything's talking about. And I have to agree, I just don't believe he's anywhere close to 100%, which begs the question, how long if he's not 100%? He goes out there and looks like that and can't move against the Philadelphia Eagles, and they go out and get blown out. I'm not saying you replace him for Michael Penix right away, right? Wow. I think that's stupid. But do you get to the point where if he can't move, you've got to say, hey, you need to heal up a little bit more?
I don't really know, what to do. I'm glad this isn't my decision to make because it's not an easy one to make because there's a lot of factors at play. The money is a factor, the dynamic between, what you decide, Cousins needs a little bit of time. Yeah. Penix comes in and balls out. It's a good problem to have.
You can't
Obviously,
turn around.
You can't go back. The genie doesn't go back in the bottle, cat, all that stuff. Penix is now the starting quarterback. Justin Fields and Russell Wilson dynamic. It's much different, but I'm just trying to say, apples to oranges. Justin Fields is a starter in Pittsburgh now, and the Steelers have no reason to, financially or any other, to go back to Russell Wilson, and that's what you're kind of thinking about when you're talking about the Falcons potentially giving Cousins a little bit more rest. What I took away from it was there's really no winning this press conference coming off of that Sunday for Raheem Morris, and at this point, it was basically him saying, I don't know what the hell that game plan from Zach Robinson was. If he's saying Kirk Cousins is healthy, the game plan was the game plan, not because Kirk Cousins is not healthy. He's basically saying this, wonder boy offensive coordinator that every single team wanted in the offseason isn't what I thought he was. And that's pretty damning as well. Obviously, it was his very first game calling plays. Also, again, something that I don't think is being talked about enough is this Steelers defense could be the best in the league. It could be one of the best defenses in the league, and we're sitting here going, wow, this Falcons offense sucks. We go play a bad defense, and we're going, oh, we're the best offense in football. So I think that needs to be taken into account. But also, the fact of the matter is it was so bad, we have real concerns. I mean, everybody at this point has seen the numbers about shotgun and pistol and running it, no play action, passing it. It was like a 96% chance they ran it out of one formation and like an 80-something% chance they passed it out of one formation and no play action. Somebody at ESPN did a comparison of Kirk Cousins' entire career. And that was my main point. It's not the fact that this can't work in the league. It's just that Kirk Cousins have never done this style of football. Plenty of teams work at. Kyler Murray rarely goes under center, but that's just his game. That's what he's done his entire career. Kirk Cousins is an under center guy. He's a play action guy. And we saw no elements of the past offenses that he's ran or even Zach Robinson has been in. And I'm talking about Sean McVay, in anything that Atlanta did last night or on Sunday. That's the biggest issue, is like nothing that we were guessing came to fruition on Sunday. There was no elements of Sean McVay's, past offenses. There was no elements of what Kirk Cousins did well, even in his time in Washington, when the offense was geared a little bit towards more Robert Griffin III and he was kind of just overtaking it. That's when he had this offense a little. I was 10 years ago. This is crazy what we're doing.
I mean, I think even if Kirk Cousins isn't fully healthy, which I think most people that sitting here watching this, or me and you, can all agree.
I mean, he's clearly
no way he's not. He's 100%. But even with that in mind, right, the game plan was still atrocious. It does. We can say it's a lot worse if he's healthy.
It wasn't atrocious until the Steelers the first half. There were several drives you were like, okay, we're running the ball. We're passing it. We look competent. Kirk Cousins is,
the lack of adjustments.
The lack of adjustments is what was the real issue. It became predictable, and the Steelers defense, Patrick Queen was calling out plays.
Yeah.
TJ Watt was timing up snaps. That is the difference between, like I was saying, Steve Sarkisian, the great offensive minds, set up one thing to hit you with another thing later in the game.
We as Falcons fans, we have a different kind of memory of Steve Sarkisian, but we probably shouldn't have been.
I meant Texas.
We probably shouldn't have been as harsh on Steve Sarkisian when he was here. We just didn't know how good. It just shows you how good Kyle Shanahan was, and that's what we were kind of hoping for when Zach Robinson. And listen, it's one game, and we're going to talk about overarching themes of the NFL in Week 1 and what we liked, what we didn't like, teams that looked really good. But one of the things that we can get into right now is the fact that offense across the board was down, and a lot of that has to do with guys not willing to play their starters in the preseason. A lot of that has to do with defenses kind of being a little bit more prepared per usual coming into the season earlier Week 1 than an offense to take on an NFL defense and not having everything installed right away. So as much as we're going to sit here and just bash the Falcons and bash Zach Robinson and just want to give up on the season after 1 week, listen, there's two things you have to remember. One, the defenses are always going to be a little bit ahead at this point in the season. And the other thing is that Steelers defense is probably the best. It might be the best, and it's definitely the most well coached. Like I mean, like even when we were doing good things in the first half, completing passes and stuff, there was a Steelers defender within, less than a half yard. I mean, right there, every completion was not easy. And obviously they're going to be stout against the run. And then you throw TJ Watt in there, who's just an absolute game wrecker. Like it wasn't the easiest task. It's probably the most difficult task that Zach Robinson's going to have. And he just happened to have it in Week 1, but still the game plan with all of that aside, we can all agree it was mind-numbingly dumb. Like, I just don't know how you can tell a defense that is that good exactly what's coming.
It's not going to get easier either. I mean, the Eagles defense last year was terrible, but they brought in a guy named Vic Fangio who has never really coordinated a bad defense whatsoever. That's the Eagles defensive coordinator. And then the week after that, we get Steve Spagnuolo, who's won 3 Super Bowls with Kansas City. He's coordinated some of the best defenses in the league. Some of those defenses carried Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to the postseason and his most recent Super Bowl. So it's not going to get much easier for Zach Robinson in this offense.
I mean, a lot of people forget that the best defense at the end of last year was the Kansas City Chiefs. And then we keep talking about this 3-week stretch. It doesn't end there. Tampa Bay and New Orleans
are defense right is nasty. I mean, those the Panthers defense or the Bucs defense is a little less,
but still two good defenses in divisional matchups, and you could be staring 0-3 down the barrel, needing both of those wins just to come out of this first 5 games not totally distraught with this, especially with all the hype coming in. Listen, Zach Robinson, you were going to give you a
You're going to give it.
You're going to get a pass Week 1, but from here on out,
the honeymoon stage is over
for everybody. Everybody, for Kirk Cousins, for Raheem Morris, for Zach Robinson, results need to be had, and you can't afford to start 0-3.